Gentlemen, I have a little bit of a life lesson for you today, a little bit of internet controversy. I saw this go down on the interwebs and I consumed my brain, so I figured, you know what, I gotta talk about it and get it out of the system. A YouTuber by the name of In Praise of Shadows made a 3-hour-long piece on why conservatives shouldn't be in horror, and 34 minutes of that piece was dedicated to attacking the beloved YouTuber Wendigoon. Now you may be wondering, hey admin, typically you cover guns and other weird stuff or movie breakdowns. Today we're branching out and doing something a little different. If you have to get your gun bug itch, then here's a montage of me shooting a few guns. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we scratched that itch, let's dive on into what's going on here. So a YouTuber by the name of In Praise of Shadows who classifies as a bread tuber. Now a bread tuber is someone from the left side of the political spectrum. Whether it's socialism, communism, or whatever flavor that is, they care about the means of production. And he made this long piece in it attacking the YouTuber Wendigoon. Now, not only did he attack Wendigoon, he attacked a bunch of other YouTubers that I'll mention here in a bit by using the means of guilt by association. Now, one reason I'm making this is because it involves a rather interesting life lesson that I took away from it, because I was thinking about this topic, and what ended up happening is that he fell into a trap, and that is the trap of hate and/or this feeling of resentment and acting upon that. That's essentially the life lesson. We'll kind of break it down, but let's get to the meat of it. So a quick background of what's going on here. I'm not going to go too far into the details because a bunch of other YouTubers have, but essentially the quick synopsis is YouTuber makes this big long hit piece of it dedicated to Wendigoon, goes over guilt by association. Some of the YouTubers that I know that he names: Mr. Guns and Gear, Brandon Herrera, Donut Operator, and Duran Thumb. I know all those guys, they're all my buds. If anything, I actually felt offended I didn't make his no-no list because he used all these YouTubers to attack Wendigoon by means of guilt of association, interacting on the Twitter. These guys live on Twitter. Reddit and Twitter is where they live. They don't go outside, apparently. So because of these interactions with just these YouTubers that I named, there's more, this other YouTuber In Praise of Shadows was able to try and label Wendigoon as a bad guy for interacting with these dudes. He's attacking Wendigoon's wholesome persona.
He was just like, oh geez, sorry guys, about starting a violent hate group, guys. Sorry that people got killed. I totally didn't mean to do all that. My bad. I'll do better next time.
He thinks that he doesn't belong in horror. The way he talks is interesting.
Horror, in horror.
So it's one of those things where it's just such a reaching at straws.
Also, it should be noted that the Boogaloo Boys are known for wearing Hawaiian shirts. And guess who else always has on a Hawaiian shirt?
Especially in this video where the guy breaks down how he calls all of Appalachia racist. He says the entirety of Appalachia is white country, so you have to assume everyone there is racist, which in itself is a wild kind of like blanket racist statement.
Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
All right, dude. He also does a statement where he compares the Hills Have Eyes people to Native Americans, these cannibalistic savages.
The Hill people can be representative of anything that you want them to be, really. They can be Native Americans, and the hills themselves can be allegorical of them being forced back onto reservations.
His first thought was, oh, you know what these people remind me of? Native Americans and imperialism. Also a wild take, which it's like a take that goes so far left it becomes right. Really interesting jumping through mental hoops here. He then would go on to name a bunch of different YouTubers that Wendigoon associates with. Now this is where, to me, things get interesting, and it's a fun example of things going wrong. In his long form video, he complains that after he did the Hills Have Eyes video, where he compares the Hill people to Native Americans, it did really bad on his channel, and at one point he only made $500 in AdSense in that month. And he talks about how he can't live off that. And I'll say, hey, yeah, that's not a lot of money to live off of. If you're trying to do YouTube as a full-time thing, that's not going to pay rent. But YouTube is also a meritocracy, where if you make bad content, the audience will let you know, and they're not going to watch it. What I love about it, the irony about all of this, is that in that video he's complaining about only making $500 a month. The video he makes, right, this 3-hour-long hit piece or whatever it is, with a video essay complaining about conservatives, it ended up making everyone else a bunch of money. Now, before we go any further, I know you're on the toilet washing this, drinking your coffee, eating your beer. Make sure you like and subscribe. I too will be on the toilet reacting to your comments, so it's like we are connected through a worldwide system of toilets, and we grow ever closer by the day. A lot of the YouTubers that he mentioned would go on to make videos about this, and I'm going to read you off some stats here. Brandon Buckingham, in 4 days, 487,000 views. Quick note on him. In Praise of Shadows video, he called Brandon Buckingham a gun tuber. First off, Brandon Buckingham is not a gun tuber. The lack of research in there kind of hurts. For guys that have dedicated a whole persona to making internet gun content, for you to call someone a gun tuber based off one video, a little offensive. That one kind of cuts deep. Oopaville, 3 days, 602,000 views. Shoe on Head, 2 days, 819,000 views. Some Ordinary Gamers, Mudahar, 588,000 views. Sensitive Society, 88,000 views in 5 days. Tom Dark, 308,000 views in 3 days. Willie Mac Show, 301,000 views in 4 days. More Pegasus, 147,000 views in 5 days. Globlax, 91,000 views in 5 days. X8, 86,000 views in 4 days. Nuxenor, 60,000 views in 5 days. Gamma, 50,000 views in 7 days. X8 again, we got 36,000 views on 2 videos in 6 days. Omni After Dark, 27,000 views. Dumpy, 22,000 views. And Papa Gut, 22,000 views. Now these are the ones I just found going off their most views and then kind of scrolling down the search feed. In grand total, the reaction content to this video generated 3,776,000 views. Now, if we go off the rough AdSense calculation, that can be anywhere between $5,000 to $13,000 of revenue off AdSense alone generated for all those creators, and or of course Patreon and merch and all that stuff could add up behind the back scenes. I don't have access to guesstimating that, but from a YouTuber that did this hit piece, he complained about a lack of making money. His work alone would go on to make all of these other YouTubers AdSense and get them views and get them talked about. Now, in a weird way, from a marketing standpoint, he is getting attention on him, but it's a lot of negative attention. So I don't know if he wants that smoke, but there's that old saying where it's like, no publicity is bad publicity, so it could be working out for him. I thought that was an interesting analysis to see kind of what resentment and hate can do. Now, what makes it sting a little bit more is that In Praise of Shadows removed his segment on Wendigoon and then took down the entire video. So that 3-hour piece of work that he worked on, spent all this time doing, no longer exists for him to make money off of. People have then cataloged it and saved it, so they have the evidence of it on the interwebs, which the internet's going to do internet things. Now, to add even more insult to injury, I'm going to make money off this video too. So we have to thank the sponsor of this video, Americana Pipes from Apparel. Fantastic young Zoomers getting after the Milsurp space and arena, night vision knives manual, and of course Milsurp clothing. If you want to have the drip wearing cool military gear that no longer is used or is still used, I would head over to Americana Pipes from Apparel. The link for them will be in the description down below. I appreciate them very much. And I love that sweet, sweet internet justice. Thanks In Praise of Shadows for making the video. Now, why am I so interested in this topic? One, that doesn't concern me. Well, it does concern my friends. I consider some of those guys very close and near friends. 2, observations that I find very fascinating. And 3, there are some good life takeaways. So the observations I have is a bread tuber, a person that would identify more on the left end of the spectrum, complains about, means of production type thing. He inadvertently makes the people he's attacking a lot of money. I find that kind of like humorous and ironic and funny, and I just couldn't help but share that with you guys. I kind of like that. I think that's kind of fun. It's making me money too, and I'm not even involved. It's hey, In Praise of Shadows. Thanks, dog. Thanks for making that. So another observation I have is that there's an importance of recognizing truly bad people. Right, this guy is lobbying shade at Wendigoon, saying he's a bad person. At one point in his video, he says he shouldn't even be in civilized society. This kid would label all of Appalachia racist. A blanket statement. That's not behavior of a good guy. The lack of research he did, calling Brandon Buckingham out, stuff like that, using pictures of his grandpa getting out of the hospital. That's not behavior of a good guy. We can all agree on that, right? You can agree, I can agree. What's concerning is that he would go on to say, and I think it was like Discord or Patreon, wherever it was. I didn't watch the entire video because I don't care. I watched the part about Wendigoon. That's the part where I care about, right? If someone has a different opinion from me, hey, that's fine. It's the internet. We all have differentiating opinions. What I care about is when you're attacking people and using these false allegations and using these things that aren't bad at all to try and make people look bad. That's where I start to care. I've definitely experienced that on the internet myself. It's about recognizing bad actors. And what I also find ironic is for someone that cares so deeply about stories, he didn't recognize that he was playing a really good villain, as someone that is trying to do good by means of wrong. So like a Thanos, right? A good simple Marvel example. Thanos wanted to help the universe out, restore its balance by deleting half of the universe, committing mass genocide. Thanos' heart was in the right spot. Thanos wanted to do good, but he was going to use evil to do good. That's like the textbook definition of a good bad guy, right? It's an interesting bad guy, in my opinion. A bad person that wants to do good by means of evil. And then the hero has to go and stop him, right? That's like an interesting story. How he failed to see that through his actions is pretty wild for someone that so closely analyzes film. Like when I do a movie breakdown, I'm looking for like a little bit of history, a little gunplay, a little bit of how the plot line kind of resonates with us. These guys look for like deep subtext meaning. It's kind of wild. Another thing to take away is that this is kind of like a living on the internet type thing. The internet is a weird, volatile space where people think stuff that matters actually doesn't. Like this doesn't truly matter. I'm a grown-ass man. This type of thing is not going to affect me whatsoever. I find it rather fascinating. It's almost like a little bit of a case study. Like please, there's a lot of life to live off the internet. Go touch grass. Don't live on Twitter and Reddit. It's not great for your mental health.
Stop it. Get some help.
A big life lesson is that hate and resentment is very poisonous to your soul. Clearly, this YouTuber was living with a level of resentment. I can't speak to his heart. I can't say that he maybe hated Wendigoon. The level of resentment it felt like he had towards him definitely showed. But it's just a life lesson of like when you hold on to this negativity inside your heart, when you let it sit and fester because maybe life's not going your way or something didn't happen. You're looking at Wendigoon apparently as like your target, and you think, oh yeah, this guy shouldn't be in my space. This should be my space. And you start resenting him, and it sits there and it boils up inside of you. Then you act on it. Look at the consequences of your actions. You had these negative emotions you were harboring, and then you acted on these negative emotions, and then you couldn't handle the repercussions. You folded. You didn't truly believe in what you were saying. You were governed by the mob. Another lesson is don't be governed by the mob. If you have these beliefs that you hold so true and near and dear to your heart, despite what a great mob from the outside is saying at you, hey, you're a bad person, this is wrong, but you know in your heart that it's true, that it's right, that it's good, you're not gonna fold. If 1,000 people show up to some function I'm at and they're attacking me, yelling at me, hey, don't drink water, water is bad, water won't save you, instead drink nothing but Red 40, I would say, no, that's not true. I'm gonna stay hydrated. Losers, I'm gonna stay hydrated. So clearly, he's acting from a place of resentment and he's governed by the mob. These aren't good actors. Now, I do think this guy could be redeemable. I think he could learn from the error of his ways, but I think what he did was a really bad idea. Really bad idea. It's definitely not cool to try and come after someone like that. So I couldn't help but talk about it. I thought it was a super fascinating example. There was a lot to take away. Not just like the drama, the internet drama, but like it's almost like an internet parable unfolding before your eyes. If Wendigoon was talking to his Sunday school and teaching them, he'd be like, I will teach you the parable of In Praise of Shadows, a man who acted out of spite and resentment and ruined his YouTube career. It's like a modern day YouTube internet parable. If Jesus came back, he'd preach it at the Sermon on the Mount. So I had to share that with you guys. I wanted to quickly give you my thoughts and a good life lesson takeaway because there is one there. I got nothing else for you guys. As always, I'll catch you on the flip. Gentlemen, Patreon merchandise, fantastic ways to support the channel. It really helps out what we got going on here. Patreon gets early access to videos. Chances are they will have seen this video before you, as well as merchandise. You get a chance to rock some sick admin swag. You can show your mom you're on track to finding a girlfriend, making her your wife, and reproducing to make beautiful children, all because you bought a Silly Willy t-shirt from my internet merch store. Much appreciated. Now I have nothing else for you. Goodbye.